I'm about to go in with a very special guest, Prince Harry.
Harry,
Hi, Jimmy.
thank you for doing this.
Are you using this script?
Not normally, but today might be different.
All right, let's see.
Let's go.
Here we go.
My general reaction was rather similar to every reaction I have when they do something, is that it's a sort of publicity stunt, which gets us talking about them, which is what they consider to be very important for. Obviously, they have a very expensive lifestyle. They have to finance it. And they've gone into the sort of celebrity mode, and therefore they need to keep putting themselves in front of the cameras. I mean, I didn't personally think that it was very dignified. I think probably the person who will be the happiest about it will be Jimmy Fallon himself, because he'll get a lot of publicity out of all of this. Prince Harry, to be quite honest, didn't really add anything to the proceedings. He stumbled about in this kind of maze of sort of nightmarish horror, rather pointlessly, in my view. And it slightly made me wonder what he was going to do next. Are we going to find him, out in the jungle with Anton Deck? Because that's what, it sounds rather unkind to say it, but sort of fading personalities do to revive their careers and to get themselves back into the swim. I was interested in this whole idea of him appearing on this program because he went to New York, to make some sort of serious contribution, and then he does this rather frivolous thing, and it seems to me that it sort of deflects from his message. So you say, yes, on the one hand, he talks a lot about the royal family. Luckily, he seems to have stopped doing that for the time being. Maybe there's nothing else to say, and he's much better when he's concentrating on Invictus Games and on his charitable work. And I don't quite see how appearing on the Jimmy Fallon show and stumbling about in a sort of series of, sort of strange sets and meeting zombies and things contributes anything at all to that. So it is indeed very strange that he should have done it. I presume he was paid a lot of money. That's the only possible motive I can think of. That and getting us talking about him. There does seem to be a very sort of strong feeling that things are changing in the Harry and Meghan camp, probably because things haven't quite gone the way they wanted it to go. So we've talked a lot recently about him doing solo engagements without Meghan Markle. That's a sort of development. The thing I read somewhere that they were sort of separating their charitable enterprises and they were going to go slightly in different directions. But you see, if Prince Harry wants to be taken seriously, then he needs to really have a very good message and to focus on that message. And I'm sure he can do that very well. But appearing on these sort of crazy shows seems to me to rather undermine that. I think that in the past, he was, when he was sort of serving in Iraq and all the things that he was doing on behalf of, the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, which is what the royal family do. I mean, I remember there was that time, for example, when he got caught out in Las Vegas, and I remember talking to a general at the time who said, "Well, goodness me, if you've been in the front line of Iraq and you had a bit of time out, I mean, give him a break." And yes, absolutely, I completely agree with that. But this seems to be more of a publicity stunt, and this is sort of doesn't sort of fit into any sort of wider scheme of things, in my view. I appreciate I'm bound to appear old-fashioned, and maybe the answer is that Prince Harry reaches a whole new younger generation who watch the Jimmy Fallon show and they get to hear about him and then they concentrate on the other things that he's doing. That would be the most positive outcome. I'm not totally sure I'm convinced by that argument. He did do the Stephen Colbert show some time ago, and that was quite courageous because Stephen Colbert, I mean, I've been on his show too, and he's an interesting character and he's very widely watched. But you see, the thing is, I think the main thing is that when people appear on these things, they ought to also have a message. If you can sort of like grab people by doing something amusing and then say, "By the way, I'm talking about the Invictus Games on Thursday," and sort of get people. That's why people do these things. But this seemed to be a bit of a one-off. So I rather hope he won't do too many more of these things. But who's to know? I think trying to look at it from their point of view, I guess they are at a sort of crossroads and wondering what to do next and how to keep going. At the moment, they get a lot of publicity. Here we are talking about them and we talk about them a great deal, but that won't go on forever because people will get bored surely after a time. I think that anything that Prince Harry does independently could create tension in that camp. I think that could be a problem. I mean, maybe he is in a way asserting himself. I mean, we've seen him doing a few solo engagements of one sort and another. And maybe he is sort of slightly flexing his muscles and thinking, I want to be myself again, because there have been quite a lot of times when certainly I, observing it from afar, think that he's just really delivering her message and that she is the one dictating all the messages. So maybe he wants to be a bit more independent, and that I would certainly commend. But I'm not sure that going on the Jimmy Fallon show and stumbling around in a nightmarish secret series of rooms and contributing very little except the odd swear word achieves much, frankly.